Down.
Oh, okay.
All right, and welcome to A Girl, a Guy, a Movie, episode 29. Tonight's discussion is Near Dark. My name is Bruce. My co host is Miss Janet.
I turned it all the way down and it still did it.
I
Sorry.
can hear it. Pro streamers. Okay, this movie came out. Catherine Bigelow floated the idea of what divorce would be like with James Cameron back in 1987. She stole half of his crew and some nice money from the production company, and she made a vampire film. But at the time, vampire films were kind of on the rise, and she's this lady, and so women, they like westerns and horses, and they like things like that. And Janet will give us a dissertation on how to make a movie that a woman would like to watch again and again. And the way you do that is make a western, have lots of horses, and they, have lots of wide shots where the horses are running with their riders and they're just enjoying the scenery. This movie kind of does that. And Catherine Bigelow.
Only at the beginning and the very end, really.
Yeah.
So besides that, it's not really that much of a western.
It feels like it, though.
Well, it's grimy and dusty.
Yes.
But besides that, it's more like The Warriors, something like that. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I love Walter Hill's 1979 The Warriors. That's one of my favorite films. I say that probably for every movie, but that's a really good film, and that movie hasn't been repeated in effort and scope since 1979. But I didn't really feel this as a Warriors-esque movie.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the grime and the grit of the city.
Okay.
The behind the scenes, the alleys. Type of thing. Not really the subway, but the grime.
Yeah. And I think this movie was filmed in Arizona, a few different places, and they did some extra filming in Los Angeles. There's a couple scenes that look like they're outskirts of Los Angeles. One of them, they're walking around, and there's a marquee for the movie Aliens because it was in theaters at the time, and James Cameron is the extra in that scene.
Are you sure they filmed it in there? Because it did look like it could be.
They were trying to film
Upper Texas or Oklahoma because of the small town feel. It seemed almost like the town square.
Florence, Arizona was one of the three towns they did a lot of filming in, and all these towns are like within 20 miles of each other. They were going to film it in Oklahoma because that's where it's supposed to be set. But at the time in 87, there was or 86 when the filming was going on, there was flooding like crazy. And so they could not get everything started and completed the way they wanted to, which is sad because I would have liked to see exactly how the original thought was, because the production design team and the original surveyors that went out for the film and for the production studio, they said this would be perfect for it. But they found some like places in Arizona, and Arizona is not all Phoenix. If anybody here is familiar with Arizona, there's a lot of little small towns. Flagstaff area is kind of interesting, really interesting in my opinion, but you have a lot of different landforms in Arizona. It almost feels like it's New Mexico, but it's in Arizona where they did the primary filming at. And that's where they were at, because that was at the time the weather shoved them there. And then they would do some other scenes in small towns around Los Angeles, small places around Los Angeles, and they did a few, like 2 weeks of studio work in LA. But I thought with what they had, I thought they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I thought they did really good. I mean, considering if it was done in Arizona, for it to not look dry and barren.
Yes. There's almost some
except for a few of the scenes where, like when he was walking through the pasture,
Mhm.
the rows and rows of corn or whatever it was, supposedly,
Yeah.
it was very dry, but he was also smoking, because he was start simmering, like from the
Yeah.
sun.
Yes.
So that was a very cool. I love that the
Effect.
drawn out part of it, not knowing if any second he was going to burst into flames, because I had never seen this movie. So that part to me was very, uh, I don't know, it was tense to me because he didn't know what was going on. He knew he felt like shit.
Yes.
And his dad and his little sister were watching. So I was just waiting for him to burst into flames and then them going, what the, and
Yeah.
running out to him. And I figured I was in my mind, I was thinking they were going to be running out to him, knowing he was falling down and getting back up right when the other people came in the RV to snatch him up. So, but they were farther away than I was expecting them to be when the camera turned around.
Yeah. I at
See.
first the only my biggest problem with this movie is that it should only be like 200 or 300 feet that you have of distance for certain shots. But there's whenever they picked him up, like I thought honestly that they were a lot closer. Mom and daughter, or the father and daughter were, and they weren't. Here comes the RV. They open the door. They grab him. Severin's got him, and off they go.
Well, because of the way when the little girl's pointing at him and saying, look, to her dad. And then when they would go back and forth from the camera shot, it just seemed closer. The
Hmm.
distance wasn't as far. And then when the RV came and stuff, and then it turned and showed them coming, it just made it look like it was like football field length. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of just a driveway length or something like that. But that was just a subtle shot. I
Small
think it
thing.
wasn't. It didn't take away from the scene for a normal person watching it that's not looking for anything. I don't think would have even noticed it.
I was really. I just discovered this movie like 7 months ago, maybe less.
Oh, really? Because I had never even heard of it, and I was
I
surprised. The young man that was in the one bar scene with the pool cue.
Which one?
That stood there and watched the whole thing while the other guys were getting their ass kicked or
Yeah.
whatever. Did you recognize him from Bad Girls? The young farmer.
Yeah. I thought he looked familiar,
I
and
was like, oh, he's a cutie pie, but he didn't look as good in this movie as he did in.
nobody really looks that good in this movie.
Yeah, it's so dark. That's one of the things I didn't like. It was the
it,
darkness of it.
it's like it was filmed in a tavern. I mean, I like the way they did it. I like the theming. I like the darkness of it. I like the way that they were able to capture everything on film as they did, because they gave it a very, like you said earlier, grimy, dirty,
Yeah, it was
urbane.
very dirty. And all I could think of, I hate to say this, but all I could think of was how smelly everyone must have been. I mean, you know, they're wanting to kiss each other, but I'm like, ew.
They're
So
wanting to kiss each other. They're wanting to snuggle up, and they're telling me that vampires can't smell things.
I guess, or they
Oh,
like dead smells.
oh. And then that's the other thing. They never mention the word vampire throughout the entire film. Not once. They say they've turned. That's it.
Yeah. Well, maybe they weren't allowed to say it or something. I don't know.
I think, a lot of times when you make a script, sometimes before you start writing the script, you'll write like a single page Bible of goals, permissible items, not permissible items. And I think that they wrote this non-permissible item like we're not going to have the word vampire said at all. Because the fourth time I've watched it today, again, didn't hear it, but I keyed in during the RV ride that they said she's already started to turn him. And I thought
Mhm.
that was very, very interesting. And then, of course, you have that discussion with the father and son about a transfusion because he's not wanting to go to a hospital. He's going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty impressive.
Well, I thought it was kind of corny the way they did it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't have a transfusion with like 1 pint of blood, and if the dad gave him more than a pint out of himself, he would have passed out.
Yeah.
So,
The
uh,
transfusion scene
and
was.
then the thought of him giving him horse blood or something would have killed him. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of lame,
It's a
that
movie.
part.
I,
Well, I
I have
know, but
to I
But
have
the
to
movie
nod.
overall, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, it wasn't the greatest vampire movie I've ever seen, but it was definitely had a totally different vision
I
that
love
I've never seen before.
I love it till the blood transfusion. And I mean, when I say I love it, I'm enjoying it, and I'm just kind of enjoying the grime and the muck and the fact that he's too chicken shit to kill, but he's all happy to grab onto little Jenny and suck, suck, suck on her. And she's like, "You're going to kill me if you feed too much." And he's like, "I'm still hungry, you know."
Well, I
And
thought her name was May.
May, my bad.
Okay, it's all right.
She Her name in life is Jenny, Jenny something or other, and she's been in everything. I didn't realize how much she has been in until I saw her, and I'm like, I know her from somewhere. So I click onto IMDb, and it's longer than my arm. She's got a very long resume, and I
Yeah,
thought,
when I first saw her, I kept thinking of her as British for
no,
some reason. She looks like a British actress, and I cannot put my finger on it, but she
sure,
resembled her. But my hair was cut just like hers
I could
when I
see
was a
that.
teenager, because I was a tomboy and I had my hair cut short like that.
Yeah, that's what
So,
women do, when they're hanging out with
well,
the
my
guys.
sisters all had long, gorgeous hair, but they were all very foo-foo girls. They spent forever in the bathroom, blow drying their hair just right and all that stuff. So I just put mine in a ponytail and didn't really care. And until I decided, hey, I'm going to cut my hair off. So it was nice. I liked it short.
Yeah,
I mean, really short, not dykey short, but am I allowed to say dykey?
you can. This is my channel.
Okay.
If we get booted off, we go to Rumble.
But I've got a few girlfriends that are dykey. I mean, that are dykes. I mean, but and they like it short for some reason. I don't know why. I guess it makes them feel more butchy or something. I don't know. But if I was a lesbian, I would definitely be a lipstick lesbian. I'd be one that likes women that look like women, and I would want to look like a woman. But I don't know,
Scissors well with others.
to each his own, I guess. Sorry, got off track
She's
there.
the wife is like, the lesbians don't scissor. Okay.
But the thing is, the whole RV thing I thought was really cool. What a
Yes.
great concept that I never even thought about them traveling around in an RV where one could drive, the other ones could sleep. Or that was one thing I was waiting to see, which I didn't. Was one of the people that travels around with them that's not a vampire that can take care of things during the daytime. And they didn't have that concept in it. So they didn't take all the vampire genre
No.
and add it to this movie.
They take enough to where they're like, how could a vampire survive in 1986? And they kind of go from there. So you have like vampires have a need for feeding. And so you have the little boy that lays down by the railroad tracks with his bicycle. You have Severin dress up in his finest white shirt and string tie and pick up a couple of nice ladies. Hey, Shellback, how you doing? And then you have Jesse and Diamondback just doing what they do. And they feed, and then they go grab a vehicle, they steal it, and then they will drive it somewhere where they don't have to deal with daylight before the sun gets up over the horizon, and they park and they hope that nothing happens They hope that nobody saw them. And then tomorrow they're going to get up and do it again, because you have to keep feeding. You have to keep the machine fed, and that's the basic. You have to. They have to kill. They have to eat, and that was what I think the design of this movie was. They had to show you like a day in the life of these vampires, which is great. I think the movie falls apart at the blood transfusion scene. My bad. But
Well,
I
I
think,
thought it was kind of I don't know. I didn't. I was tragic when I saw that they had a little boy.
oh,
That somebody had changed a little boy. That was I didn't really. That was uneasy for me. Uh, but and the fact that when they did drink anyone's blood, they're killing someone and they're barely drinking a glass of blood. You know what I mean? So it was like, how do they keep him from draining everyone or turning them into vampires? Uh, it, if they bite him, there was like when he bit him, the one guy in that one bar scene, he drank some of his blood, but he really didn't stay on him long enough to really kill him or to take all his blood out. So to me, it was more wasteful of vampires that were very wasteful of,
very American. Yes.
sloppy. They were sloppy. It was like they did it more for just for the fun of it,
Yeah,
instead of doing it for the substance, you know.
and
So
and that's
I
the
don't
other.
know. That was interesting.
You find out about Jesse kind of, whenever they're burning the RV. Severin says, "This kind of reminds me of that fire and we did in Chicago, right, Jesse?" And so they're responsible for the 1871 fire. And then
Yeah, maybe, or there was quite a few different fires, wasn't there? But they were probably talking about that one.
I'm thinking that one. And then you have the point where they're in the hotel room and Caleb asks Jesse, "How old are you?" And this is after they finally are starting to accept Jesse, because he had the balls to run out in the daylight while the cops are attacking. And all these cop cars are getting shot up, flat tires, so they can't go anywhere now. They're stuck. Jesse grabs a van, smoldering hot, almost burst into flame, gets everybody out of the bungalow, and he takes off. And in the bar or in the hotel later, um, he asks Jesse, "How old are you?" And Jesse says, "Well, I fought for the South." And just when you hear that, you're thinking, this movie could be really damn cool. The dive bar fight, Sick Nation 31 King says the dive bar fight's hilariously over the top, and it doesn't break immersion. It really doesn't, because if I remember right, in the 80s, you would have people really not want to call cops the first sign of trouble. They didn't have that mentality that we have today, where like, if you see anything going on, just call the cops. Nowadays, it's like that. Back then, people thought, I can handle this situation. And the bartender, he grabs himself that double barrel hog leg from underneath the bar, and he tries. I got to give him credit. He tries, but Severin gets a hold of him.
Yeah, the part where they I'm trying to remember exactly what part it was, where they're first brought him into the van, into the RV after he was changing. Well, I knew he was changing because when he was falling and standing back up and falling through the whole pasture or the crops field, the crop field,
Yes.
I knew he was transforming because steam was coming out of his jacket and around his collar and everything. So we could tell that he was transitioning. I thought that was pretty quick too. And the fact that she bit him knowing that he was going to transition, because she just took a bite. She didn't, try to kill him or anything. And then she ran, hoping that, I guess, that he would follow her. So I thought that whole thing was, it was almost endearing. Like she just wanted him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just wanted him to be with her because she was, I don't know, she seemed lonely.
Yeah.
Okay. But we didn't know why she was lonely until we get to see the interaction between her and the other guy, basically the only other guy that she could be with. I could see why she wasn't interested in him.
Yeah, she's
He
not.
was a total asshole and over the top about stuff. And she was young, and she wanted someone young. And it really hit home when the little boy is smoking a cigarette, walking around, even though he's smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, and playing with handguns, that kind of stuff. But when he walks out and he's out there smoking and he hears the clunk clunk of some coins going in the Coke machine, and he's looking around, and then you see him walk towards. They drew that scene out quite for a long time when they didn't have to.
Yeah.
He could have just looked over his shoulder and saw, a machine, but he didn't. He walked around the corner and he saw a little girl had just put money in and was taking a Coke out, and they made sure, boy, that you could tell that was like set up that Coca-Cola was getting some money or paid some bucks to be in that.
Good product placement.
Yeah, they don't really do it that way anymore. It doesn't seem like, unless it's a Steve Austin movie,
Excuse me. Have you seen anything with Adam Sandler?
Oh, well, yeah, Adam Sandler, but they make it a joke out of it, but it's still funny,
Sony's paying for
except for that. What was that movie that made every restaurant was Taco Bell?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to remember the name of that movie,
Demolition
but it was what was it? Yeah, Demolition Man, and that was hilarious. So when they do it that way, I think if it's in the right, the way they do it in the movie, it makes it really good. But when he sees the little girl, I went, oh my God, it broke my heart almost, because he even though he's acting like trying to be a big guy, he was still a kid.
Yeah.
And he would always be a kid forever. He's trapped as a child.
He even says that to Severin at one point. He's like, this sucks being an old man in a little boy's body. And Severin's like, yeah, if I wouldn't have to fucking hear this every fucking night, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I mean, it really tugged at my heartstrings, and I almost wanted him to have her as a friend. Is that bad? I almost wanted, because I didn't think that you could just get a couple pints of blood and change being a vampire into being a human, which would be funny to see them do that to the old guy, because if they gave him blood, he would just turn to dust.
Yeah.
Because if he made him human again, he would just die. So to me, that I don't know. It was like I don't have a clue what they were trying to do with that. That took away from the whole concept of the movie. I was expecting them to get in a vehicle and just drive off together, as vampires.
Yeah.
But not with anybody else. Everybody else dies, and them two get to run away together, to be together forever. Like she said, I'll be as old as that starlight when it gets here. So in a way, it would have been so romantic to me and they stayed in all these hotels, and they had an RV, 2 RVs, it looked like, and they never bathed. I just thought that was, I don't know. I just thought that was so gross.
The running water thing. If the running water has any weight in this world, to where you can't have a vampire with running water, the bath water could possibly be an issue, because if you switch it around a bit, that could be running
pretty
water.
Blonde girl, though, the blonde that was in, God, she was in lots of movies.
Mm-hmm.
The girlfriend, I can't remember what her name is, but man, I saw her in she was in, gosh, I'm trying to remember all the movies, but I recognize her face from so many things. She always looked clean. Like when she's sitting on the couch and she's talking to the little boy about the where her family was, what room they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking to it. She was all clean, and she looked really, really good.
Are you talking about Diamondback, or are you talking about May?
No, not May. May was the young teenage girl. I'm talking about Diamondback, the girlfriend to the leader of the Vampire Coven.
Yeah.
She was in tons of stuff. Wasn't she in like Aliens or one of the Alien movies?
Yep, she was an Alien, and then anything James Cameron has done, there's a 30% chance she's involved with it.
Well, she was good. She always played a badass too. She was a really good badass.
Well, that's because she got typecast after she did Vasquez.
Oh, that was Vasquez?
Uh-huh.
She looks way different in this movie with her hair that way. I didn't recognize her as Vasquez.
I like her like this because she's got a little more meat on her bones than Vasquez, which was filmed a year before this. She leaned out a lot when she was doing Aliens. She was also with the guy that she paired up with in Aliens, Drake, the big lunk that those two had the smart guns.
Yeah,
Those
the one
two,
that she committed suicide with at the end.
no, that was Lieutenant Gorman. Her
Oh,
and
okay.
Lieutenant Gorman died together. But in Aliens, there's a real big, beefy, blonde haired dude, and they're doing chin ups together. And that's when Bill Paxton is like, "Hey, Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a woman?" And she's like, "No, have you?" And then
Yeah,
Vasquez and Drake go, my man, my baby. And they do that bro
yeah.
affection. Well, those two, while they were on set, they went out drinking because everybody, when you get done, we're like in England together. They're like, so I guess, yeah, Drake is the other smart gunner. Um, those two had an affair while they were in London because they're like, if we kind of do stuff together, we're gonna like actually have some of that chemistry leak on screen, and everybody's already thinking we're doing it. So why not just sell it all the way? And both of them had no problem. They went, and that was her. Yeah, have you ever been mistaken for a man? Shellback. Yeah, and she completely admits to that now, and that's something that if you look up like facts about the movie Aliens, like in the background, Drake and Vasquez in real life were like, we're on a deployment. She's a deployment 10 and he's a deployment 10. The two tens are gonna get together. And that's kind of what happened. But yeah, Jeanette Goldstein is the lady's name that you're talking about. She was the mom, the stepmom in Terminator 2. She
Yeah. Terminator 2, that's it. The
and of
mom
course
that took
I
care of the
can't
kid. Yes, now I
yeah.
remember. That's
So
the other one.
yeah, she's in Terminator 2. She's in Titanic in a couple of scenes because she's got her kids with her. And at the very end, it's great because, like, while the ship's sinking, she's there reading to her kids and trying to make them not worried about death. So, mom
Yeah,
is
I hate to say this, but guess what? I never saw Titanic.
you.
I swear.
I
I
had to
never
see it. You should
I'm
have
not
to
gonna
see it too.
I'm not gonna tell you why I didn't want to see it, but it's okay.
I hate the Canadian bitch that sang the song. Okay, I'm going to
Now we have to
1990,
watch it.
the 1990s
Uh-huh.
are are famous for movies that were already popular. But then you have a song that gets released, and every teenage girl would buy the single and shove it onto the Billboard 100. So if you were crossing the nation at any point and you turn on the radio, you'd hear the Armageddon song by Aerosmith, or you'd hear the Titanic song by that Canadian bitch. And I don't even have a value for her to where I release her miserable name. I can't stand her. So, like, I'm just gonna say that, like, I like the '90s movies, but the songs, the top Casey Kasem's top 100 movies, where you have a movie that gets number one and a song that will be at number one for the next 7 months. I really hate that shit. Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's no big deal.
Janet will eventually release to us the reason why she avoided Titanic like a germ plague.
Well, it's because I didn't like DiCaprio. I mean, really, I just
It
don't
just
like him. I think he's an arrogant asshole, so I just don't like him in
what's not
movies.
to like about a guy that literally is living the oh god, what is that movie? Dazed and Confused. He's doing the Dazed and Confused shit. Where he's like, I keep getting older, and them girls keep looking great at 20. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing. He's just recycling. Oh, you're 25. You're too old for me.
Well, there was a movie called Magic Mike I don't know if you saw that. I might have to watch that one night and make you watch it. Ha ha.
Actually, joke's on you. I
You've
dig the
seen it?
Magic Mike movies. I love the
Oh,
Magic Mike movies.
the
You want to know
one
why?
scene, the one scene with Matthew McConaughey, and he turns and he walks back to this day up to the stage, and his back is showing. Every one of my friends were saying, "Oh my God, he's got old man back." It turned them off so bad, so they were like, they didn't like him, and I was like, "Yay!"
All those prunes turned to just dried raisins.
Well, it's just, yeah, it was just hangy, wrinkly skin on his lower back. And it's like, you'd think that he would have done something if he was going to show that much of his back, or wear a vest or something to
Well,
cover it up. But oh well, I didn't.
I like Matt
You know how I
McConaughey.
feel about Matthew McConaughey. So.
Yeah, I've met him a couple times. I've not had a bad problem with him. I've actually
I know. I
benefited.
think that's wonderful.
I've benefited from him in
If I
Texas.
had just met him once, for a hey, hi, whatever, it probably would have been fine. But when you spend more than a few minutes with somebody, you start to see things you don't like.
Spends days with these people, and she gets to see all the ugly side of Hollywood.
Well,
Not the ugly
it ruins it for you sometimes because it just when you get to see the good side of someone, like I've gotten to see the great side of some people, and it just makes me want to pay every dime as I can to go see their movies, to support them. And then other people, I'm like, I ain't giving them one penny.
Yeah.
So,
And
everyone feels that way, I think. If they just keep their trap shut and they do commercials or whatever and they don't say anything, they keep their own political and personal feelings out of stuff, then fine. But when they start forcing us to listen to their political stuff too, it takes away from the entertainment value of them. So sorry. Get back to the movie now.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm gonna have to get my dopamine drip going there so I can have happy pets or something, because that just grinds my gears to hear fucking Leonardo DiCaprio talk about politics and Green Earth movement shit, and he's got a private fucking jet that he just wasted his carbon credit
and a boat, and it's sad.
And a yacht, and
you got to remember, these people, they think they're better than everyone. They look down at you. So when they look down at you and they don't see you as an equal, I mean, that's why I was really sad when Robert De Niro came out and said some of the stuff that he said, because I've met him and he was very cordial to every person.
Typically,
to the catering, everyone. He was nice to everyone. He shook people's hands. I mean, he would sit there and just talk to you like you were like nothing, like you were just as good as him. Look you in the eye, all that, all good traits. That's what it was. I was really surprised. So, but that was all the stuff started happening when him and his wife were getting divorced. So that might have had something to do with him saying some of the stuff that he said too.
More than likely, that had a heavier weight than what you and I know.
Yeah, I think it did too.
Because there's a lot of money tied up in De Niro. A lot of De Niro.
Definitely.
I was surprised at this film when I saw it 7 months ago for the first time, because a friend of mine says, "You've never seen Near Dark?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "It's got all the people from Aliens." Well, not really. It has 3.
Yeah.
And, 4 if you include James Cameron in that one scene. But you get that. And then Red Letter Media did a video on it. And I'm like, I need to see this film. So I bought it off of YouTube for a night or two, did the rental, and I'm like, okay, this is really good. And here lately, it's been one of my films that I was like, oh, it's Halloween. I got to float this from to Janet, see if she wants to watch this, because this might be a really good movie to watch. And for me, the movie kind of falls apart at the transfusion, getting the son back from being a vampire. But aside from that part there, it's a really good film. Like the scene where Severin is run over by a tanker semi, and then he claws his way up on top of the hood and starts ripping guts out of the hood. He just starts basically knife hands it, and he starts grabbing wires. You need this? You need this shit for your truck? And the kid decides, all right, well, I know how to drive a truck. I was told how to jackknife it. And so he does that, jumps out of the truck and blows the shit out of the truck. In the scene following that explosion, you get they did a real good job with that explosion because they put a mock-up dummy on the hood, and when it goes up, you see Severn's little body fly up and then just kind of pirouette back to the ground. And it reminded me of Darkman because the movie Darkman has a great scene where Liam Neeson, he gets exploded. He just dies in this building fire. He gets catapulted out of the building with all this crap on him from the lab and falls flaming into the bay. And that scene reminded me of that scene from Darkman. I'm like, that was great. Whoever did this, they had the right weight for the mannequin. They had the right explosion. They had the good angles on it. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, you could tell that they took a lot of time and effort in planning out the action scenes where the people were going to interact. Even the scene in that which was my favorite, the whole bar scene.
Yes.
Because you know how many bars like that exact bar I've been in? I mean, half the bars in my life exactly look like that. They had one or two pool tables in it, and they had maybe a dartboard, and then they had the little tiny tables that could barely stand up that you had to put like pieces of paper and stuff underneath so they wouldn't wobble up against the wall.
Yeah.
You know, the
Oh,
little
God.
two-seaters. And
Yes.
then you had, the chairs, mismatched chairs, all that. I mean, it just looked like I'd been in every one of them bars. I loved it. It just brought back so many memories. And then the phone on the wall
Oh,
right next to the door so that you could call for a taxi or whatever because you're shit-faced or whatever. It just brought back so many good memories. But I loved it. I absolutely, because I remember the first time I went to a bar, I was only 16. I wasn't even old enough to be in there. And it was in Oklahoma, and it was me and my dwarf friend. I remember, I think I told you I've had a friend that was a dwarf.
Yeah.
In high school and junior high, and she wanted to take me out, and she drove this giant pickup truck, and she'd stand up to drive.
Wait,
amazing.
why does every dwarf I know have either a large, like lifted pickup truck, or do they have like a van with the driver's seat ripped out and they have like a board standing behind them that they strap into?
Well, she didn't have that. She had a seat, but she had the big pedals, the little extra things on the pedals.
Yeah.
But she could put in. But most of the time, she'd take those out and she would stand up. She'd be just standing up with a modified steering wheel, which was really cool. But when she took me to the first bar I ever went to, and I almost got shot. It was so scary because apparently she was seeing someone's husband or whatever, dating them. So that woman came up trying to find her, and I almost got shot. But that's what that bar reminded me of. It was one of those bars that have alcohol and stuff, but they're not like legal. You pretty much know they don't have a license.
Yeah.
Or something. So that's what was so cool. And the type of guys that were in there, they're all like shady looking. You don't know if they're on the run or they just escaped from prison.
They were quickly released earlier today at 2 a.m. by their own hand.
Yeah, but that's what reminded me, except for the young guy at the very back of the bar that's wearing white. Okay, he's wearing white. So he's like the virgin in the bar, and he's just playing pool. So he's standing there not knowing what to do. And I was just waiting for him to pee his pants at any moment during the whole thing. Whether, when he cut that bartender's throat with his spurs.
Yep.
On his cowboy boots. I mean, that whole scene was just gruesome. I mean, it was really, really gruesome. But I thought it was very, very, it was over the top because nobody tried to leave. It was, I don't know. I just thought, I was shocked that nobody tried to leave. And plus, what are all these guys just hanging out in a bar with no women? I mean, how many guys go to a bar just to be at a bar? I mean, is that something that really happens?
I don't know. I've never been in a bar that didn't have a couple gals in it, and that was one of those things that when I saw that, I'm like, this isn't like how it usually is with us. Because usually we at least will go there to a bar to where you have at least a gaggle will be in there. You'll have like a group of girls that arrived all together. You know what I mean? And they'll be doing their girl thing, and they know they're the center of attention. But once they leave, it's time for us to leave too, because we're not going to be part of this sausage fest. No.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. But the thing is, it was very, I don't know. I just, I had a hard time trying to understand why there was where were the women? The pretty waitress, you had the pretty waitress. Was it because it was early in the night, or was it later in the night where the girls had probably already left and the guys are just hanging out to finish drinking, or
It
I don't
felt like
know.
it was later. It feels like it's later in the night because like all the pretty people have paired up and they're already set. They're already paired up. They're going home with each other. And right now we're just trying to drink our alcohol and enjoy this last bit of cathartic, mess. It feels like it's like a 2:30 in the morning bar when all the bars are supposed to close at 2, and they're just being polite, like, "Okay, guys, we're gonna stay open until you finish your drinks." You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the fact that the bartender had the sawed-off shotgun behind the
Yeah.
bar, and he pulls it out of the little freezer, and he starts trying
Yes.
to load it. But see, that was not believable to me, because every single bar I've ever been in that was a CD bar like that had, I'm sure they had weapons, but they were always loaded. Because you don't have time to put shotgun shells in a weapon when someone's robbing you, or there's a knife fight breaking out in the middle of your bar. And his
Right.
bar looked like it was one of those bars that was going to constantly have some asshole causing problems,
This
besides vampires showing up.
are you seeing this guy on screen right now getting up off the pool table?
No, I don't see anything but us.
Okay. It says it's
I
sharing
took my
screen.
wings off because it was slowing down my my screen. So I took my wings off.
Okay. There's the guy that Bill Paxton, Severin's character, pins Caleb basically to him. He grabs Caleb and says, "Go ahead, punch him a few times. I'm trying to teach him a few things." And Caleb gets the shit beat out of him for a little bit. And then he just does 2 punches on this guy and lobs him onto the pool table. Did I do that? That guy that beat the hell out of, he doesn't really beat the hell out of him. He just lands 2 good punches on him. The vampire strength knocks him 13, 14 feet back.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the same character that was in the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day that Schwarzenegger goes up to in that first dive bar. "I need to close your boots and your motorcycle." And that's the same character, same actor.
Well, the part where that whole scene I liked. I thought it was the most action packed, most really to me believable. I got the hiccups. Sorry, believable scene in the movie. Just the way that Caleb's character interacted with the guy sitting next to him, and the only person to me that made this scene really over the top was Bill Paxton's character. It was almost like he was really overacting in the whole scene for some reason. The two in the booth with the kid, just goofing off, really didn't. I don't know. They didn't do anything standoutish the part where he's flirting with the waitress, and then
Yeah.
they end up cutting her throat or whatever. That was a very believable scene. But I expected that from those two actors, that actor and actress, to have more dramatic acting skills or whatever, more believable, uh, instead of over the top, kind of like, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Because even Bill Paxton, when he was in Twister, when he's like, a couple of little scenes in there, to me, it was a really great movie. I loved it, but there was a couple scenes in it to me that where he was a little bit, I don't know. Sometimes he goes over the top. It's like I said, that's why I thought the scene from True Lies was so good, because this scene was made for that movie part was made for him to be an overactor. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does.
Because it was a believable over the top character, but the character was supposed to be over the top. And I loved it. That was still my very favorite movie that Bill Paxton's ever been in. And my second movie that he was in would be Tombstone. But True Lies was my very favorite part that he's ever done. I mean, it was like it was written for him. That's how good it was. But I just thought it was great. But I thought he did really good in that part, simply for the fact he was supposed to be, a badass biker type, I guess, vampire. Yeah. But the part where he leans over that guy, I guess he's laying over the jukebox to bite his neck. That was like so. What's the terminology? Uncomfortable. It was like, okay, this is what flashed in my head for a few seconds. You got a guy and a girl, and they hook up, and they went on a couple dates, and then the girl suggests, hey, if we get this guy, we could have a threesome or whatever and bring him back. And it's like the two guys trying to, like look at each other, trying to see how they're going to go in to do anything, but not wanting to be in each other's space. I don't know if that makes any sense. But
we're going to have a threesome. I don't want your penis to touch my penis.
Well, I know, but it's the looks on the face is like,
yeah,
they're like trying to measure each other out about how are you going to go in on this side? Because I don't want my face too close to your face. I don't know. I can't explain it, but that whole scene was just really funny to me when he's going in to bite the guy in the neck. And plus the guy was sweaty, and I don't know. It was just, I kept feeling like I could smell over the top, like, whatever, a gym room or gym locker room or something. I don't know. It was just gross. That the dirtiness of everyone really grossed me out.
Yeah, that movie, the movie does over the top on the dirtiness. And this is a still or a promotional photo of Bill Paxton when he was doing Weird Science.
Yeah,
he played Chet in Weird Science, the older brother that really did not like his little brother.
Yeah.
And this movie
and he was a total asshole. See, and he was great at it.
Yeah.
He was really good for that part. Did he get turned into a big pile of shit?
Yep.
Which was really funny. So, he was good that's why he was successful, and why he was able to be in so many different movies is because he was good at what what characters he chose to play. But True Lies will still be my favorite.
True Lies is good. I love that movie. There is another film that we never discuss called Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm just saying, I don't think I've seen it. I'd have to, there's just so many movie titles. It's just hard to tell. I'd have to see the trailer to tell you whether or not I've seen it or not.
It's a film where Tom Cruise dies like over 100 times, and you see 20 of them.
I don't really like Tom Cruise that much. I loved him in Maverick, but I'm just not really into Tom Cruise. He's a really, really tiny guy.
If I didn't have my job and obesity, I would I would be 140 pounds. My ideal weight's 140 pounds at 5'6", and I'm really happy that I have my job. And as much as I don't like my obesity, I'll take my obesity because it adds a little bit of substance and grift to me.
I don't think you look like you're obese at all.
I'm obese. I'm just gonna say, whenever I'm pushing my 40-inch waist jeans, like okay, I can
When
I
you
can
were
still
dating, did you date women that were taller than you?
all the time. My
Because
wife is taller than me.
oh, okay. See, that's good. I mean, that just shows that there's diversity in dating because I met so many men that says they wouldn't even ask a tall woman out. It made them feel intimidated. I'm like, well, Casey Kasem liked them tall women. He liked the
I
space to go right into their chest.
I I subscribe to the Casey Kasem mindset. It must be motorboat season.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, that I feel bad for a lot of women because I've heard so many guys say women don't like to date short guys. I'm like, how do you know if you don't ever ask the tall woman out? How do you know that? I mean,
you
you wouldn't know.
you
You're missing out on a lot of potential dates simply because you think because you're shorter than her that she's not going to want to go out with you. I mean, I know lots of guys are the same height as their wife or their girlfriend, but the girlfriend likes to wear heels, so when she wears heels, she's taller than him. Does that mean he doesn't want her to wear heels? He wants her to wear flats? No, because guys like girls when they wear heels. So, some men just need to get over that thought, the thinking that women wouldn't like or be interested in them just simply because they're shorter than the woman.
even before the Resident Evil game came out 2 years ago with the big, tall, busty vampire lady,
Hmm.
uh, Bruce subscribed to the notion that if you're going to date me, you're going to be at least a hand taller than me, maybe more.
Hmm.
And that's just how it's been for 40 plus years. I think I've had one lady that was shorter than me, and that was like a date. This is really nice. You're a really swell person. I hope you meet the right girl or the right guy, excuse me.
Hmm.
And you turn it loose, you throw that fish back. But
Yeah, honestly, let's see. I
height doesn't
haven't
matter.
been on lots of dates, but I think I dated 4 or 5 guys that were taller than me, and the rest were either the same height or shorter than I was. So there you go.
You're 5'9", 5'10", in
Five
middle
nine.
America. You're
And
going to
most
have a
of the
lot of
time, I
guys that
didn't wear heels. I'd wear tennis shoes or cowboy boots or something like that. So, but what I'm saying is that guys are shooting themselves in the foot when they say, I can't go out because, I can't ask her out. She's pretty, but she's too tall.
Good God, fucking volleyball teams would come into town, and I'd have my new black book ready.
Well, I just wish more guys wouldn't just make an effort. If they ask 5 or 6 girls and they all say no, then they're asking the wrong girls.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you have to do. I know this sounds like a terrible mindset for some people here, but find your yes. And if it takes you 100 no's, hey, it takes you 100 no's. It might take you 30 times getting roundhouse kicked in the face before you learn how to block a kick. But you're not going to learn how to block a kick just by watching movies and thinking you'll be able to put it into play. You have to endure. You have to experience those losses for you to have a victory, for you to have the success. And I mean, if people want to quit early, hey, that's great. That just means more for the guys that are willing to put their time in. Like, you know what? I'm going to get a bloody nose, but I am going to win a fight, or I am going to have a woman who's taller than me. I am going to be okay with a lady who's 5, 6, 8 inches taller than me. I don't care. When you're laying down, you're the same height anyway.
Yeah, I guess. But there was quite a few crash scenes in this movie too. They
Yes.
trashed a lot of vehicles.
Hey, Shellback, you take care
What
of
was the budget for this movie? Do you know?
I'll find it.
because that was one thing I noticed. There was because I guess because they were nomads and they drove around so much, but it didn't seem like they ever went too far away from one main town.
They actually went. From what I understand, they drove around quite a bit. But the budget for this movie, because Catherine Bigelow wanted them to be vagabonds. She did not want them to have ties.
Yeah, they were like nomads.
And she does a pretty good job of that. Looking up the production of this movie.
It was a woman.
Catherine Bigelow was the director. James Cameron's second wife, Gail Ann Hurd, was his first.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. This was her floating the idea of divorce.
I had no idea it was a woman. I wasn't even thinking about it.
The estimated budget for Near Dark was $4.7 billion or $4.7 million.
That's not too bad. 4 million.
The opening weekend it earned 635,000, and it went on to make in the theatrical release 3.4, which was below the $5 million budget. In 2009, Lionsgate Home Entertainment released a Blu-ray, which included the documentary of the film Living in Darkness, and the Blu-ray, the VHS. That was where this movie actually started to make its money back. But this movie, the majority of the expense for special effects was the blood. The whatever chemical they used or whatever solution they used, because they said the blood was like one of the most costly things, and then the like 8 or 9 vehicles they trashed.
Yeah, the scene in the bar where Robert Paxton's body was basically covered in blood, and he was licking his fingers a lot. So I wonder what they made it out of.
I don't want to think about it because all I can think of is
this finger licking good.
I just taste road dirt in my mouth.
About
That's
the big sweaty guy that he beat the crap out of and then drained him or drank some of his blood.
No, neo-Western gypsy homicide vampire Brady Bunch. Yeah. And then you have the little boy that was in this movie. And he was played.
Yeah. I'd seen him before too. I was trying to remember where I'd seen him, but I'd seen him in something besides that one.
He doesn't even have actor on his. Okay, actor's his second item on IMDb. But
so
he's
what's on there?
Writer, actor, and producer.
Oh, but he's a grown-up now.
Yeah, he's 48 now.
Yeah, so he probably doesn't really act that much.
I don't think so. Not anymore. Last thing he did was The Wizard of Gore in 2007.
I never heard of it.
Neither
That's like
I.
the kid that was in that was nominated for an Academy Award, I See Dead People kid.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I hadn't seen him for years until he was in The Boys TV series. So he was in there for, 3 or 4, maybe 5 episodes as a special character that he had a certain power they needed. So, and he was in there for that. He doesn't look anything like he did when he was a little boy. But, so I guess you'd have a lot of child actors that were very active and then are no longer active now as an adult. So they had those parents that protected them, and I guess they grew bored of wanting to be an actor or an actress. But he was really adorable. little character. I thought he did a good job at playing a rough and tumble, streetwise little vampire boy, for sympathy part.
He did the part well.
Mhm.
You do feel sorry for him. You really do. You feel sorry for the little kid because he's not going to have the same opportunity
And
as the
I
other
don't
vampires.
remember them telling you why they bit which one made him, which one made him a vampire, because he talks about how he's the one that made May, because, and when you get to see how when he's laying in the street with his bicycle laying by him, so people would stop, and when they run over there to help him, then they get bit.
Yep.
So that was his ploy to get food. But who made him?
Well,
Was it the woman? Because
I'm
she
thinking.
babied him a little bit, she
I,
kind of,
I think Diamondback did
yeah, I was
because
gonna say,
I,
she kind of
I think
babied
she
him
wanted
like
the
she
baby.
wanted a kid, but she didn't have one.
I got the feeling that Diamondback she wanted a baby, and she realized that having a dog would be useless as a vampire because animals don't like vampires. We saw that with the
Yeah.
horse. I love that scene where Caleb drags May out, to the horse ranch, and she's like, horses don't like me much, and Caleb's like, oh, that sucks, because he's all into horses, and then later on he gets turned himself, and well, that's what you get, man.
Yeah.
But
That it really was. It really did. I don't know. And plus the dad, I thought he was the worst actor in the whole movie. The guy that played the dad.
really,
I thought the little girl out acted him big
yeah,
time.
she does.
And
She
the
does.
police officer at the very beginning at the bus
At the bus station,
station, I thought he did a great job.
yeah.
Wasn't
Go
he
home, be a
in
good boy.
Ace Ventura Pet Detective?
He's been in a lot. He's like
Yeah,
an
because
86-year-old man now, but
he was a really good actor, and he played a really good cop, a detective type character, I thought.
oh,
So I
that
thought
guy's
he did
played by
really good.
Troy Evans. I thought Troy Evans did a good job. He's a plainclothes police officer. I thought the trucker they met, I thought he could have acted a little better. Okay, I'm just going to share his IMDb because I think you need to. This guy that we're going to be watching here, um, it's going down to 1987.
Hmm.
Near Dark. He's the facts of life. He's a police officer. Planes, trains, and automobiles as a trucker.
Yeah.
He was a fire captain on Night Court. Played on LA Law.
Hmm.
My Two Dads. He did the NBC circuit, it looks like.
Yeah.
Played on Webster, the TV series. Wow. As a scalper. TV series of Twin Peaks. Did Halloween 5. Ooh. Sorry.
I wonder what part he played in all these.
Deputy Charlie.
Yes, he plays a lot of police officers apparently.
Yeah, there's like 4 of them so far we've done. In Men at Work, which is a Emilio Estevez Charlie Sheen movie I like. He played Captain Leo Dalton.
I loved him in Ace Ventura, though. He was really funny. Because having to stand there and not react when Ace Ventura was doing some of the crazy stuff that he would do. Gosh, we're gonna have to do a comedy month or something, because I think that's one of the movies I definitely want to review is Ace Ventura and The Three Amigos and a couple of those other goofy movies.
He's in Demolition Man, which is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is not a documentary. I wish it was not a documentary.
Well, it seems like it today.
He played in The Stand as Sheriff Baker.
Mm-hmm.
He played a scoutmaster in Father and Son, or Father and Scout.
Yeah.
Murder, She Wrote. Poor Annabelle Lansbury. Baywatch. Home Improvement. He actually played a person. He was in The Frighteners as Sheriff Perry.
That wasn't a bad movie.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Total Security plays Detective Howie Levon.
Mm-hmm.
Another customs inspector, Fred Lowy, on Practice. Officer Winchell and Jamie Foxx. This guy has made a lifetime of mortgage payments playing cops.
Yep.
Detective Tulinski.
But he's good at it. He's a believable character. This is his look about him.
He's got that look.
Yeah, he's got the look of a police officer.
Captain Dillon and My Favorite Martian. Alien Fury. Oh man, I remember that. I used to watch a lot of sci-fi movies, so I know a bad film from 30 paces. But yeah, we're going into the 2000s.
Yeah, he does have a long page.
Yes. Detective Mike Pitts on Close to Home.
Mm-hmm.
On ER, he played Officer Martin. All right, I'm going to stop sharing at this point. And yeah, I do like Tony, Troy Evans. He's a great cop in this movie.
Yeah, he did really good. I was expecting him to be in it more because maybe it's because I'm used to seeing him in so many things. I was expecting him to have a bigger part. After he shook him down and then he gave him $3 so he could get a ticket. And the whole thing another thing that pops up is that he goes through all this rigmarole to get a bus, and then gets on the bus, and it seems like he's on it a long time, right? And then he gets off and he's walking along and he's having trouble, and it doesn't feel good. And then she's there.
Yeah.
It's like, they didn't, I don't know. They didn't explain well enough to me how, she said, she told him before he left, you're not going to be able to get there, or you're not going to be able to do it, or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden she's there like that. Didn't get to see her following the bus or, anything. And why did they just let her take the vehicle that far away, and leave them stranded without a place to sleep or how to get somewhere so they wouldn't burn up? I don't know. It had little gaps like that in it, which took away from the story because I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to understand how come she didn't just go with him, instead of having to do it the way they did it. To me, it was just, I don't know. It was just really hard for me to, follow through on that, to try to understand it, because there wasn't anything later that explained it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just had a hard time with that part of it.
This quote from Sick Nation 31 Kings says, when you think about it, the idea of a predatory monster centuries old with the accumulated knowledge in the body of a child is disturbing. Yes, it is.
Yeah, to me it was, and the kid they got to play that character was very. He did very well at playing very disturbed and very empty. He had childlike qualities and things he was interested in, but he had an emptiness. He had a void in him because he missed his childhood. And he was abruptly snatched right from his childhood and became overnight, or less than overnight, within hours, he was an adult, and he had to live an adult's life and see horrendous, horrible, terrible murders and people being ripped to shreds and tons of blood and people getting their heads blown off and who knows what else because of the people that he was with.
Could you imagine having to hang out with Severin as you lose your innocence for more than just a week? That would ruin a person.
Well, he was a terrible person, but the thing is, he was chosen apparently because the leaders seemed to like him for someone that was on his level, that could keep him entertained for a very long time. Because when you're out looking, when you're never going to die, okay, you'd want to find someone particular or a few people that with particular skills or ways of doing things that you think would keep you entertained for hundreds of years. I can
And
see why they would do that.
Jesse seems like a bored king. He seems like somebody who, yeah, he's at the top of his game. Nothing can really touch him. And he's just kind of existing in this blank miasma of day in, day out. This is what we do. We're vampires. We grab a hotel, we get a RV, and we'll drive another 100 miles down the road before the sun comes up. And hopefully nobody will disturb us, so we have to see the sun. And he's
Well,
done that.
because the whole thing with the young guy, that Caleb, the one they got in the beginning, it was like they were testing him and telling him he's got to be like us. He's got to be able to feed himself, take care of himself, because apparently they didn't want another person to take care of.
No, no. And you really, I mean, I can see their perspective. I mean, okay, well, make sure May has a double portion tonight because little Caleb's got to suckle on his mommy. And
Yeah.
she's not a big girl. You can't really say, like, well, she's going to have 20 pounds extra tonight and then it's going to just go magically into Bob's mouth. You can't do that.
Yeah. And plus, one of the things I didn't understand was the fact that they were together each time he fed, he was with her, right? Because he was feeding on her. So she would kill someone, like when she killed the truck driver, right? Why didn't he go over and just drink on the truck driver? He didn't kill him.
I kind of wondered that
things
myself.
like that. I thought about it later and I was like, that would have been more believable too than him just sucking on her wrist every time. Because he's drinking blood. So what does it matter if he's getting it from, it's already been processed through her body, but it's still that guy's blood. You know what I mean?
You're right.
That was kind of like a little, I don't know,
it's not a demerit, but it's one of those things I thought about too much.
It took away a little bit from it because I couldn't understand why that was a perfect way of him getting around killing anyone himself, was just letting her do all the killing, like in his lioness or whatever. And all he does is just feed off of whatever the lioness was to bring, into the pride to eat.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny that you equate it like that, because what I've studied on prides is that you'll have the lionesses that do the majority of the hunting. The lions just kind of sit around and wait, and they'll eat kind of last. They're generous. But if there's an actual threat, if there's something coming in the area that's like the lionesses can't handle, maybe it's too big, maybe it's a 2-ton wildebeest, maybe it's an alligator. The lions will get active, but they have to be needed to be active, because otherwise they're just like, what, lioness, you can't handle this? And that's kind of the mentality of the pride. And so it's, Caleb wasn't willing to kill at all in this movie until like it was time for him to I've got to kill Severin because my sister's at stake.
And that was another thing that I noticed since you're saying that about his sister, was the fact that, it didn't seem like an urgent need of hunger that would, every story that I've ever read or movies that I've seen, vampire stories, that as soon as they change, they're starving. They've got to have subsistence to fulfill their demonic need or whatever it is. But they're like the thirst for blood is very powerful and overwhelming. And it didn't seem like that with this movie. It seemed like, I'll just go get this guy over here, whatever. I didn't get the urgency of why they're even killing. It's like I said, the overall thing I got from it was they did it for fun or pleasure because it thought it was cool to kill or whatever. I don't know, but it didn't seem as urgent as I was expecting it to, for them to, to fulfill their need for blood.
I think you're hitting on something that that a lot of people think about when they think about it later,
Mm-hmm.
because this movie, there's another movie called The Hunger that I believe is a lot like that. But this movie here, the need to eat, they're only having like 4 ounces of blood. I'm good.
Yeah,
They
it's just
have a girl's throat open. Okay, we filled this cup. That's fine. I only need 12 ounces. What?
yeah, it's like I don't know. I had a and it's cured by getting a blood transfusion. You know.
You would need more than a blood transfusion of like 1 pint from your dad. You'd probably need to have your whole family there on staff
Well,
to.
the fact that when I was reading about it, when it said that it, that he would need a blood transfusion after I watched it, because I was trying to when I got on the IMDb page or whatever to look at some things, I could it made sense, okay, when you read it, but it was the way they went about it in the movie. If they had been in like if his dad was like a veterinarian, which they showed that he was supposed to be a veterinarian, right? But he didn't have uh they had that when he was in that back of that truck and you looked around and you saw all the chemicals and the bandages and all the different things to do it something. If they had pulled out a table that folded out of the wall or something there in the back of the truck and had him in that, because it seemed lit up well, it seemed like there was light in there. And then instead he takes him and puts him in the barn, to give him a blood transfusion. I don't know. It just seemed I don't know. I had a couple things with them came to the medical part of it. I didn't understand or why they chose to do it in the barn when he could have done it in the back of the truck where everything was already at. Because he was a vet and he travels and puts the animals in the back of his truck to do service on them. So I just thought it was, I don't know, a waste of a very good, very medical looking space, so that when he was getting the transfusion, it would be more believable that a transfusion might actually work. Like when he was going back to get the girl after she had the transfusion, there was these two big bottles hanging up, upside down, empty, like they actually gave her a real whole body transfusion, not just a couple plates of blood. Because I was thinking to myself, if he drinks a few pints of blood and it doesn't make him cured, then why is him getting a couple pints of blood in his body curing him? I was trying to understand that concept, and to me it just didn't make any sense. I had a hard time understanding that part of it, or trying to absorb it or whatever. Did you think about it that way at all?
I didn't notice it from a medical standpoint. I do my best work when I'm not needing to be around medical people. I'll just say that. And I mean, I value your experience. I do, but I wouldn't have noticed that she had the full kit for the entire body transfusion. Maybe dad and son took turns and got the blood infusion to dad's new daughter-in-law. Maybe they did that. I
Well,
don't.
the thing is, it seemed to me that if he was a vet, that he would have access to a blood substitute. Okay.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have to give his son pig's blood or chicken blood or whatever it was that a vet would have, that he would have a blood substitute, because a blood substitute could be transferred, by whatever machine you put it through to be able to give it to a cow or a bull or a horse or a goat or whatever else, and maybe a human if there was an emergency. But if he had those things, then he should be able to call someone saying, hey, I need, this many things. I'm going to trying to do, somebody got bit by a snake or whatever, and I'm trying to, clean their blood or something. I mean, there was just, to me, it could have been more believable if they tried to do something like that, instead of seeming like it was the whole transfusion thing was rushed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't know. It just did, the way they did it, it didn't seem very plausible to me. Curing someone from being a vampire by giving them a half-ass
I,
blood
I didn't I
transfusion.
didn't like it either. That's one of my complaints about this movie. That's my biggest complaint about this movie. Um,
But I really think that the ending, if it had been where, even if it was on the horse, or if it had been, in a pickup truck they stole or whatever, but them two riding off together as vampires would have been sufficient to me. That romance, and that they could be together forever would have been. He said bye to his sister and bye to his dad, and he was able to go away the woman he loved, and she loved him, to be together forever. I thought that would have been a good ending, but apparently they had to come up with a way to cure him and her for it to be more believable or something. Wish I thought was kind of. I wonder if what the real story was. I mean, if they changed that in the script to give them humanity back or something, because they didn't think people would like the fact that they were still vampires. I mean, I don't know.
Here's the main character, Caleb, now in the movie or in series Heroes back in 2006.
Yes,
He
I
was in
remember him.
Vital Signs home movie, more Heroes stuff. Vital Signs, Shanghai, Prophet. He's been in a lot.
Yeah, you know who he reminded me of when he was really young in this movie that we watched? The guy that played the cowboy in Bad Girls too. They
Yeah,
have a similar look to him, and I know they're not the same actor or anything, but they did look similar.
they have the same like style of standing, if that makes any sense. Like both of them have been around ranches quite a bit, and
Yeah, and they knew how to ride a horse.
they have that relaxed look around the animals. They have
Hmm.
that ability to do, they just have that kind of easygoing way. Like at the start of the movie, Caleb bumps into his two buddies, and you'd only see those two guys at the start of the film. Like first 3 minutes, once they're there, and their focus is to alert Caleb to, oh my God, there's May, go hit on her. You're not going to take it
Hmm.
home. And
And
you,
is that scene the only scene where you see her getting something to eat besides blood?
yeah, that's it.
So, what was the whole thing for her to get an ice cream to trying to draw someone in to be her victim? See, they never explain that, and she just licks a little bit of the ice cream off the top, and then you don't see her eat anything else besides the people that she kills.
I think that was the entire reason why she got the little ice cream cone and she was just having little baby licks because
Yeah.
she wanted to like just be an attention piece and she
Mhm.
wanted to be like, look at me, I'm a pretty little young thing and I'm out here in the middle of this big city. Come talk to
Yeah.
me, somebody with a little bit of charisma. I'm not difficult. I'm a woman. If you've got the ability to have a conversation, we could do something fun. And then things kind of go downhill once she bites him because I mean that's the entire reason why the movie's made, of course. But
Yeah.
if she hadn't been a vampire and she was doing that, I would just say she would be hunting for hot dogs because that's usually what I say when I see a woman that's just in public that's really not into eating her giant coney dog or ice cream cone or whatever phallic object she might be trying to put in her mouth. If she's just
Uh,
hunting for a hot dog,
yeah,
she's looking for.
I didn't think anything about her coming out when you see her walk out with an ice cream cone and she's licking it. Okay, until um, then when I realized that she was the vampire and that maybe she was using that to attract someone that she could bite.
It's in the old arcade game world, you'll have an arcade game which has a screen flash, and it'll show off like the little bit of gameplay, and the screen flashes again. We call that the attract mode. Women do the same thing. They have an attract mode. They do something that is guaranteed to get attention for people looking for what they offer. And
Hmm.
When she's there just nibbling lick by little nibbly lick of ice cream.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was dark out. So, and there wasn't really a street light. If there was, it was like really
Really
down the
dim.
road a little bit. So, who was she supposedly trying to attract? Those three guys?
I think it was those three guys because she knew if she went to that crappy little bar, she'd have a choice between the cute cowboy that was a rat later on. She'd have the
Yeah.
guy that had the awkward, almost gay moment with Severin, or she could hit on the bartender, who probably is the father to the waitress and the
Yeah.
grandfather to her kid. So she's probably just like, there's nothing to do here. Let me find something to do. This is what I do. I'm a vampire.
Yeah,
You
see,
know.
that was one of the things that I had a hard time with. The more I thought about, I wish I hadn't just when I watch it. I normally try to watch the movie, 3 or 4 days earlier.
Mhm.
It gives me time to think about it before I talk about it. But I
It's the
watched
day
it
things kind of happen,
today,
and I
so I
apologize.
didn't get a chance to do that. But the thing is that the whole nomad thing, I just had a hard time because it seemed like um, they go out in their nomady vehicle and go around, and then they make a big circle and come back to the same area
I didn't
over and
get the
over instead
circle
of
at all.
going straight through, except the part where the dad is going to the police department and they're talking about it and they're saying, well, we think they're, this place or the other. But it seemed the territory around them, you didn't see them like you see the van driving, and you
Yeah,
see a map showing them where they're going to kind of show the audience where these people are traveling from. And then he pulls into this podunky little town, and that's where that kid is at. See, then you see him get out and they're going a little farther up the map or whatever with him. And then the dad and the daughter or sister are trying to find out what happened to him. And they got the police searching for him and stuff. But I don't know. It just seemed like, I mean, I've driven across country many times, and you're driving and you fall asleep and you look out the window and it's all flat like Kansas City. You're driving for hours and hours and you wake up and it still looks like the exact same place you just left, 2 hours ago.
so
But or you get past that and then you look out the window, and next thing you know, you're seeing mountains and lots of trees. So it just seemed like they're driving and driving and driving and driving and driving in different vehicles, but it's always the same when you look out the window, or it's always the same when the sun was setting, instead of it being in different cities or towns or landscapes uh,
this
from
this
different, states.
this OtterBox, this is what I'm reminded of every time I think about traveling cross country. Because most people, they think of traveling cross country, they think of like, oh, I can't wait to get to Johnson's Corner or Laramie, Wyoming, or somewhere in Denver. But up until that point where you hit Denver, up until you hit Garden City, Colorado, if you're going from the Great Plains, Midwest, westward, this right here, this miserable flat expanse of miles and miles and miles, which is just inches on a map, that is what you
Yeah.
see. It's not going to change for quite a few hours. Get used to flatlands, kids.
Well, see, when I travel, I get on there and I try to look, okay, where's the big giant ball, rubber band ball? And where's the, so and so little mounds, that are off in the distance. There's like these Indian mounds where they used during the Trail of Tears, for the put the teepees. They had
Mhm.
the little teepee mounds or whatever, things like that, historical stuff that's on the route. Like when I took that stuff to Colorado, on my way home, I drove back and I came through Roswell because I'd never been to Roswell and I wanted to go there. And I put a couple videos on my Janet from Another Planet
Worth it.
channel. And but I've always wanted to go there, and I would love to go back and go through. I got to go through the museum, but go do some of the other things and go check out some of the areas near where the the crash happened, that kind of stuff that I didn't have time to do, but I would love to. And plus, it was freezing. I was like unseasonably freezing cold when I was there. But just things like that. Whenever I take any kind of driving trip, I try to look at my route and what cool stuff that I haven't seen before, and kind of make it into a, like a vacation, even if it's for business or whatever, because you can at least see stuff as you're driving. Try to do that. So I was hoping that when we were watching it, that they would be a little bit more like that. Like another thing was kind of weird is that they always had a good place to park. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That would keep them from getting sunburned or whatever during the sleep. But the thing is, the longer I thought about it, I got less worried by it, simply for the fact that when they said that how old they were, you'd realize, well, if they're driving all the time, that over 10 years, pretty much they'd have some favorite places they'd want to go, on the same route, because it'll probably basically doing the same thing, like I said, just making a great big loop or big figure eight or whatever, in areas where they feel like they could go in and take a few people out and no one would even notice. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't draw attention to themselves. So I added a bunch of stuff in my head to fill in the gaps that I felt like that maybe that someone else wouldn't notice in the movie, because I'm trying to find new things about the movie that I didn't notice before. Plus, it was a new movie because I hadn't seen it before.
I really hope you enjoyed it, because this is one
I
of the
did. I
better.
thought it was very unique. The concept of it was something I've never seen before for a vampire movie. Now, I would have made different things done to it. I think would have been, they could have made it more romantic by leaving the lovers as vampires at the end, and then letting them get in the truck and drive off, knowing that we would know that they were going to be together.
And I think they tried. I think they floated that in a script, maybe, and you can even see like part of that in the hotel scene when Caleb's trying to explain to his dad, who was not really acting that well. I will complain about his dad. The actor that plays his father is a talented guy. He's done stand up before a lot. In fact,
it wasn't a good part for him.
No, it wasn't. He had the look. He had the look. He did great with the look, but he doesn't come off as like a dad. He does.
Yeah, he didn't come off as like when the people came and supposedly dragged him into the hotel room, and he sees his son. He's like, "Oh my God," and he wanting to hug him or whatever, because he'd been harrowing, worried, seeing him gobbled up and put into a vehicle and driving off. Plus, the son seemed old enough to be the daughter's or the sister's dad to me. He seemed very mature. He didn't seem like a high school student or anything. So I don't know. It just I had a little bit of trouble. I think they should have made the dad a little bit older and the sister older.
I'm going to take a swipe at you on this, Janet, and I want you to forgive me before I
No,
do.
it's all right. I'm not going to be mad. It's it's your choice.
Everybody here, this is what happens when you have a TV show about high school girls, of those girls in high school from 1979 to 1988. The facts of life have ruined us, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that we, later on, it wasn't, high school. They were in a college program or vocational program for Mrs. Garrett's stuff. But
it was a private school, I thought.
Yeah, it was a private school, but for crying out loud, like they stayed their welcome plus, and I would have thought Joe would have taken off for a mechanic shop at some point, and I eventually married Joe. But I really like this. He does look young in this movie. Does he look young enough to be his sister's brother? Not really. But this is 1987, and Hollywood's effect, the facts of life effect, and that's what I'm going to call it from now on.
Yeah.
That has clearly touched Hollywood, and you have that with this movie where you have a man that looks like he's mid-20s and he's got a 10-year-old sister. A
Well,
really
she didn't even look 10. To me, she looked like, I don't know. I don't know. They dressed her like she was 10, but she acted like she was older than 10. I mean,
yeah,
to
she
me,
acts like she's like super old, like
yeah, she
13,
seemed like
14.
she was 12. I mean, the way the maturity level of the little girl, which, was fine, I guess.
Yeah,
It just didn't seem the gap between the two, unless the dad if they had put a little bit more in the story to say that uh his mother had died, the older boy or whatever, or he was divorced, and that was his new little sister with the new wife or something. Then that would have made a little bit more sense, but they didn't go into any detail with that stuff, so you're left guessing why the daughter or the sister looks like, she's a little, orphan. You know what I mean? Did you ever see that movie, Orphan?
no, not yet.
Okay, well, it's a scary movie, and it's a girl that's supposedly she's like in her 30s or whatever, and she's pretending to be a kid, a little kid that whose parents were lost their daughter. She was kidnapped or whatever, and she gets to come back, and she dresses like a meek little girl that's like maybe 12 or 13 years old, and she's real small and everything. But it was kind of like that. I mean, it was kind of hard and far-fetched to believe that she was supposed to be that young, but she, was believable because she was a pretty good actress at it. But not everyone's going to believe it, is what I'm saying. But I
Yeah,
guess you can't fill every gap on every single aspect of something in every movie. That's why it's so hard for you to have a movie that if someone would give it, you know, that's why when they used to give the Academy Awards years ago, it was for actual, because it was a really good, the part was really good, or the movie script was really good, certain aspects to do it. Because to have a movie that would win an Academy Award for Best Picture or Best Script and Best Actress, stuff like that, the more that you add onto it, that just shows how hard everyone worked to make that movie so successful. They all came together. Like I said, every time is to get all those puzzle pieces to go together to make it that good is very rare. And that's why, you'll have people that say, "Oh, that movie was okay," or this part of the movie was really, really good, about the rest or whatever. So it's just hard to get an overall movie that's, all tens or,
yeah, and I
things like that. But for the concept of this story, I was really surprised because I've never seen this type of story for vampires before. And if they had not put the transfusion thing in it and left that out and just let them, be vampires and die that way or run off together, I thought it would have been they would knocked it up a whole nother, at least another mark for me,
okay.
because uh, I don't know why they put that in there. To me, it just did not fit well,
Um,
or
I
the way that they filmed it and put it together for the movie just didn't
yeah,
seem.
I don't like how they edited that. I don't mind the story aspect of it so much. I don't.
Yeah,
It's not the way I would have done it myself, but it doesn't work how they edited it. And everything you've said before, everything goes back to the editing side.
yeah.
Um,
You can
this
definitely tell when they chop something to bits and cut out so much of it that it takes away from the movie when they have bad editing.
I would love to see this film with with the lost footage restored. I think
Mhm,
this movie probably would have been another 20 minutes long. You would have had some other ripples in it, like the 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 theatrical release for the United States version of The Professional is vastly different from the European version. The European
mhm.
version is good. Don't get me wrong; it's great, but the American version is a more taut, very intense movie that does not allow for a lot of like breathing room, and it does get away from some of the uncomfortable concepts of the young girl and the old man.
Yeah.
This movie this movie does a really good job of keeping this as a very tight 97-minute long film, which I really enjoy, but I wish I would have had more to it. I don't want to see aspects of the family life for Caleb, because with the father's blandness, I can understand why every spawn he's made, the chief the chief birthing agent has fled the ranch. I can see
Yeah.
that. I don't
Mhm.
need to I don't need to pretend, like you're one of my best friends. I could see something like where you have a situation with Mr. Bland Man and you're like, listen, I've got a career. I'm going back to Hollywood. I'm going to leave my little daughter, who looks adorable, with him, and she'll be raised with no personality, and I don't have to worry about her getting pregnant before she's 30. And that I could see. I could see that completely with this movie. Caleb,
Yeah.
look, he's 25, and he's got no response. He's good with horses. He's good on the ranch, but he doesn't have that nuts, grab your nuts and take charge shit until it matters, until he nuts up and goes after, the people that kidnapped his sister. That's the only point where he really like turns into an adult. He's an adult in this movie. The whole film, he's clearly over 18. But when he finally has the threat of losing his sister, that's
Yeah,
where
see, that didn't bother me, the fact that, he was over 18 or already graduated or been out of his
no,
high school for 2 years. That didn't bother me at all. It was the fact that, it was kind of creepy. uh, I don't know, it just seemed
no, go on that,
there was
tangent,
a
because
huge
that might
gap
be
between the siblings to me.
okay.
It was almost so big that it was, I mean, when the little girl was hugging him after he had had his transfusion, I was looking at him, I was like, that could he could be her dad
The
from
scene where
the
he's
way I
carrying
was
her
viewing
on
it.
his shoulders, and she's like, "Are you feeling better?" He's like, "I'm feeling a lot better." The
Mhm.
sunlight's hitting him. He's walking around bare chested. I think that was kind of a good scene because one, there's no action going on with the pelvis. Two, it shows that those two are close, and she's not getting super creepy with the questions. She's got a mature mindset because her mother has been absent. She's the
Yeah, but
mom.
also what was weird is when you have, um, I don't know, they just seem close the way that they talk to each other, which seemed, maybe that's what it was, that why I thought it was creepy, is because most brothers and sisters with that big of a gap, don't have anything in common and they don't really talk to each other that much. They'd say, hey, whatever at dinner, or stay out of my room, just that type of relationship.
Yeah,
So it just seemed, I think that's what I had, maybe that's what it was, because I had the youngest sister. It was 8 years between us, and we hardly did anything together because it was 8 years is a lot when you're a kid. It's just like, oh my God, I got to take my sister with me, because it's like you're having to deal with a bunch of stupid stuff that you don't want to deal with, especially when you're a teenager. You know,
I I
it's
can understand that.
so just little things like that, to me, that was kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of went, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it or really explain it very well. I just thought it was kind of weird.
I
Weird.
I I think what it is that she's close to him because she realizes that that's daddy's little girl, for one. Two,
Hmm.
daddy is about as emotionally present as a brick. I mean, he is the Brie Larson of this film.
Yeah,
I hate to say that.
this was not a good part for him.
No,
Even
no.
when he was interacting with the police officer, the little girl seemed to have more. Um,
She had more screen presence than he
yeah,
did.
she was adorable. Her and the little boy, I thought, were just dolls in this
I would
movie. They
love
had
to see
very
those
good
two in
presence.
another movie together, but like it's 30 years later and they're now in their 40s, and he's the young boy vampire.
Hmm.
He's completely got sugar in the tank,
Yeah.
and he's got it pretty proudly
I
labeled
mean,
on his Wikipedia and his
simply the
IMDb.
fact that I was almost this close to going, almost thinking that maybe it would be nice for him to be able to have her as a pal to hang out with him. you know, to me, that's basically giving her a death sentence,
Yeah,
which I thought, then I felt guilty because because I felt so sorry for the kid. I wanted him to have a playmate, someone
and
that was his own age that he could ride bikes with and stuff. It's like when they took the bike, that part where he took the bike off the top of the vehicle and he threw it down there on the ground. And because at first I was like, why do they have bicycles? And then when I saw, then I realized, oh, he's a little boy. He wants to ride a bike because he's just a kid. Now, it just was, to me, it was sad. It
yeah,
added a whole new realm of depravity, if that makes any sense.
completely.
Just simply because whoever made him a vampire they should have had their head chopped off, because that to me is just that's very sacrilegious to have taken a child's youth away from them. A teenager is bad enough, but to take a small child that still wants to just ride bikes and play out in the dirt, uh, I don't know. They played in dirt all the time though, by looking at them. And
Yeah,
boy, I bet
they
that
did a lot
RV
of
really
good.
was rank in there.
I could almost smell the movie. I'm just going to say that, and for people that watch this movie understand what I'm saying. I I really like the idea of the young kids actually getting together and quote unquote hooking up, but you know for a fact that they're not going to be able to do adult things with kid bodies because kid bodies aren't going to do the things that adult
Well,
bodies
I
do.
know, but I don't think that in his mind that he was the mentality of his mind wasn't the same as the other people he was hanging with. That's like I
No.
said, he's sitting there each night, they're playing cards and he's smoking a cigarette and all that, but he's still a child in his
Yeah.
mind. He wants to ride his bike, he wants to watch cartoons, he wants to hang out with another kid and talk about, you know, comic books, other kid things. So when he saw the little girl, he was just not in love with her. Oh, I want to have sex with this kid. He
No.
was thinking of someone he could play with,
Yeah, he finally would have somebody like his own
that kind of stuff.
because he
Kid
sees
things.
Diamondback and Jesse every night, and they
Hmm.
might do adult things. They took off on their own, and he's talking about the night that he met her, and she's like, "Yeah, I knew the night I met you. It was trouble, but I forget what night it was. I forget the date." And they have their little romantic moment, and then you have May who picks
And
up Caleb, and and I love what 61 Six Nation 31 Kings says in here. It's the illusion of youth. He'll never get it back. He'll never have his childhood back. And anybody that he makes companion of, they're going to perpetuate that
hmm
curse that he's going
yep.
through. They're going to just repeat this miserable cycle over and over
I mean,
again.
and that one scene when he brings her into the hotel room with him, and then they sit down and they're watching a show, and for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden you see the sign off thing happen where they have
Yep,
the static, and
yep,
he's frantic trying to find something on TV because he doesn't want her to leave.
yeah. He's
That was just,
starving.
oh, if they had that and it lasted just a little bit longer, I might have started crying. I really did feel my heart strings were being tugged for this little boy because all he wanted was to be a kid, and but now he's a demonic vampire, basically. He's
Yeah,
a killer. It's what he does every day. He pretends to be laying in the street or whatever to get a victim and kills people, and he's just a child, and oh, that was just that. I bet, is this based off of a book?
nope. I think this is a wholly original story.
Well, I
I
was gonna
haven't read
say
anything about this is based
that's
on
a
a book
very
or
sad. The whole thing was, to me, was this very, very sad story.
there was
Poor
an
boy.
RPG that came out in 1989, I believe, called Vampire the Masquerade,
Hmm.
and they have a bibliography at the end where they tell you if you want to get good vampire movies or books, here's the books to read, here's movies to watch. And I don't believe I ever saw this in the list of films that you should watch if you were going to play Vampire the Masquerade. And I was kind of shocked. Maybe they have it in first edition, not in second, but I don't remember that. And my friends that played Vampire the Masquerade, I had a bunch
What
of
is that? Is
friends.
that a game?
It's a game like Dungeons and Dragons, but instead of playing heroes, you're playing vampires. And
Well, maybe we might have to try that.
it is a very
I've never heard of it.
oh, they made a TV series on Fox for about 8 episodes. And then when they started getting season 2 set up, the lead actor, the prince of the city, got killed in a motorcycle wreck. So that kind of axed
Oh,
it. But
yeah.
it's a very popular game at tabletop conventions. You have a lot of tabletop people like myself that have fond memories of it. It's been through a lot of various iterations. I would tell people if they're going to be interested in it, we would play the original version or maybe
Mhm.
second edition. But anything past second is not good.
You're gonna
I
have to
mean,
send me the info about that so I can look it up and maybe do something like that. It'd be fun.
you have 7 days a week to play with. You have 14 days where I don't require you. You have 13 out of 14 days where I don't require you at a table to be a cleric. And I hate to say it, sound like Mr. Spacely talking to Mr. Jetson, but like if you want to run a game of Vampire the Masquerade, or you want to find a table of old Vampire the Masquerade, you're going to find another aspect of the tabletop hobby that you're going to fall in love with. It is a very good game. It had a very good group of people around it for a long time, and then they just kind of went to other games, other systems, and the system they have now is like everything else. It's not as fun as what it used to be. It was huge in the 90s. It was a best-selling RPG for the first 3 years of the 90s that I remember. I remember stores having to reorder books all the time because these books would come in, and as soon as the kids get out of school, they'd come and they'd buy it. And the D&D books would sit on the shelf, and D&D wasn't bad. It was great, but whenever you have the opportunity for people to play Vampire the Masquerade, like if you know my friend Chimerian, he would much rather play Vampire the Masquerade than most D&D games. But
Yeah.
he, that is a very much more of a political, social game than a game where you stack numbers against bad guys and try to lay everything to waste with your spells and your swords. I
Hmm.
like it, but there's a part of Bruce, my cathartic side. I want to have my players enjoy themselves, and a lot of times with Vampire, think, yeah, bring back Spacely's mustache. That'd be awesome. Um, I think for me running Vampire, it's bad because at the end of it, it's like a bad game of tabletop diplomacy, which you start the game off as friends with everybody playing, but by the
Yeah.
end of the game, you've made everybody your enemy and you can't stand working with them anymore. All you have is resentment for your other players. It's never good in a situation where you're playing with people you know and appreciate, because you eventually hate them. And that's kind of
And
how
is
it,
that's from the vampire game?
Vampire game. The
Yeah. I
Vampire game
wonder,
that
is it
I run,
because it pushes you that way, or is that what just happens when you spend that
that's
much
what
time together?
happens when I run it. When I
Oh,
run it, like I don't mean it, but you'll have people that they were dating, and like 6 months into it, these boyfriend and girlfriend will break up, and he'll leave because he's like, I can't play this game with her. She killed my character. Or she diablerized me. She made me dependent on her, and I'll have things happen to where, yeah, you guys as a group will actually have goals you'll achieve, but you're evil as well. You're feeding on people. And
yeah.
most vampires are smart. They're going to have a crowd of maybe 40 or 50 people that over the years they're going to farm out, and they're going to nibble on this guy, they're going to nibble on this guy, they're going to nibble on that girl, but they're not going to turn them into vampires. They're just, I need you for like the next 2 or 3 days, and that's it. But the thing is, the vampire kiss is supposed to be a romantic thing where people just kind of enjoy that. But there's certain tribes of vampires or certain clans, like my favorite, the Giovanni. they don't have a very pleasant kiss. Their kiss is painful. So you have to put extra effort into having a group of individuals that you feed off of. Otherwise, your entire time is spent looking for the next victim.
Yeah. Is that
That
like Among Us?
what
Is that game kind of like Among Us?
it's I've never played Among Us, but I would only imagine just by the title, yes, it would be like that. I'll give you the information for Vampire the Masquerade, and you'll have I'll give you some Discord servers that you can start your search. And
Okay,
this
thanks.
I'm going to give you a gateway drug, but where you go from here, I will do my best to help you. But I want you to enjoy yourself, and I want you to be able to be fungible and not fill up a
Yeah, I had
library.
someone give me a game, and it's in a box, and you have to put it together, and it's a house, and it has the sides that go up like that, the back on it, and then it has a roof that goes up like that. But it at the very top, there's a little attic up there, and then there's like 3 rooms that 2 bedrooms, and then another little room, bathroom, I guess, in the middle, and then at the bottom is like a kitchen and a living room and stuff. And so it's like you work your way through it, and the whole thing is a murder mystery type thing.
Huh.
And it has like little envelopes and stuff that you fill. You mix them up and it's almost like Clue almost, but it's got really hard little details where you have to figure things out, like an escape room. That's what it is. It's an escape room game. And it is really hard and it's really fun. And, but the thing is, it's just hard to get people that are willing to sit around with you to play the game. And there's hints and stuff to help you answer questions because depending on what cards you pull out and things like that, is what direction you end up going for the story, and it's just really, really, really ingenious. So, I recommend all those type of things because I really like those kind of games. And um, if you're into that, you could have some fun with some people. Like you have game night once a month or whatever, and you get to choose a game. Well, next month we're going to play this escape room, and the month after that we're going to play this game. You know, and one thing that's fun, before COVID happened, there were lots of escape rooms where you could call and take your friends and spend, an hour or two trying to escape, you know, using teamwork, to try to solve the puzzles and stuff. I loved them. I think it is a really good way to spend your evening. The time that you could have spent at bowling alley or at Top Golf or something like that, you could spend trying to escape from an escape room and actually use your brain and see how well you actually work together about trying to get out of something.
That
It's
sounds
really
like a lot of fun.
It is. It's a blast. I've done it a few times,
They've got
but
a couple around here. I'll have to see if the
they
wife.
should be opening back up again, I think, depending on where you live. But it can't hurt to call and find out and to take a couple friends with you. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like a blast. Um, Next week, what movie does Janet want to watch and discuss for
We
next?
know, remember? We talked about it. We said that we would both agree to watch a certain movie for Halloween.
That would be the 1982's The Thing by John Carpenter, starring
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, and
Yeah,
special
I think
effects
it's
by
a
Rob
great
Wilson.
movie. I absolutely love it. To
Okay.
me, that's one of the rare movies. It's got everything you want in a scary movie.
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
I love that movie.
Me too. I absolutely love
I'm
it. I've
looking forward
seen
to
it at least 30 times already. So,
probably about the same.
it's really, really good. I mean, it's and plus I don't sit anymore and just like look for bad stuff. I search out the best things that I love about it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know, when you find a movie that just it seems like it hits every target. you just can't wait for that scene. It's like you go, oh, gotta pause it right here. I gotta go to the bathroom and get me some more popcorn, because you know something really good and juicy is about to come on, and you don't want to miss it. Even though you've seen it over and over and over again, you still get the excitement of the scene coming up. And that, to me, shows the quality of a good movie, is somebody that's, people watching it are like, I can't miss this scene. Even though you've seen it 15 times, you still want to see it again.
Janet, my Chinese food just arrived. Allow me
Oh,
to
okay.
do full screen here just for a moment, and give
Mhm.
me about 2 minutes to take care of this.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and I'm excited about next week for Halloween. Gonna come hang out with us on Halloween and talk about a good movie. It's gonna be fun. But I hope you like this night's movie. It was a good movie. I had never seen it before, so when he brought it up, I thought, what the heck? I'll try to enjoy a good vampire movie, because he knows I like vampires. I really like them. But thanks for coming. I enjoyed it. But I love talking, as you can tell. And you guys can leave stuff on either my Discord or Bruce's Discord, or even comments in our YouTube channels for any ideas of movies or anything that you'd like for us to review or talk about. And we'll be happy to research it and see if we can find it. My hardest thing is trying to be able to find a way to watch some of these movies, because they're old and it's really hard to get them to where you don't have to pay through the nose to rewatch them. Oh, you bet.
I'll have you better prepared for the next movie that I start with November. What is the theme for November? Do we have a theme?
I don't know. I don't think we do. I don't think we have anything specially
I don't
planned.
want to have it be Turkey Month. I absolutely don't value turkey, and I'm not a pumpkin spice guy. So,
I don't mind just doing what we were doing before. Just pick random movies that we really enjoy and
okay.
Talk about them.
We're doing The Thing next week, and the week after that, you can pick from whatever, and then I'll start back up in 2 weeks. I'll have my next movie in like the 14th of November.
Okay. Well, I don't know what I'd want to watch yet. I was just thinking about watching the
Thing.
The Thing. I haven't really thought about it, but I was telling everybody to hope that they can come and join us for Halloween and hang out and enjoy The Thing. I still think, I wish we could do it somehow, figure out a way to where we could all watch an actual movie on Discord. Aren't we allowed to do that?
I think we are allowed to do that. I just haven't started to figure it out myself yet.
Because I know that 32 Flavors, Nick Weiser did that. Because I remember the very first time I got to do that, because I thought it was so cool, because I hadn't had Discord very long, or I had it for a while, but I hadn't used it before. I never really got on there and used it. And I went in to join to watch, I think it was Big Trouble in Little China or something like that. He was having and had people on it. And I was talking away, not realizing my microphone was on. And finally Nick goes, "Hey, Janet, your mic's off." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So it was just, it's a learning experience, but we were watching it. So we were getting to sit there and watch it. And I couldn't tell you how we did it, but I'm sure he could explain it to you. So that we could I think it'd be fun.
I'll ask him in chat. I gotta say, last night I was in Comics Division's chat, and I don't know if you were just having fun with everybody, but you look like you were having a blast.
Oh, I did. I have fun. I love going. It's just that it seems like the last 2 months, it's just like I just don't have any energy. I'm so busy. I get up at 4 a.m. with the chickens and just different things. And now I have a new house guest and a couple new house guests. So it's just a lot more laundry, cleaning, cooking, all those things. So I'm just worn out. And plus I work out every other day. So the nights, it seems that I'm able to stay up longer is the nights after I worked out, which is kind of weird.
No, that makes
But
perfect sense because you push your body and your body responds with, I'm going to have more energy, even though I expended a lot of it on the treadmill or on the elliptical.
yeah, well, I don't know. It's just funny sometimes. It just seems like, gosh, you think I'd be crashed by now because I got or go in there and get a big bowl of chips and start eating them because they're covered with salt or whatever to replenish
Do
whatever. I don't know, but it's just funny. Just
do
seems like
you
you'd be worn out, go to sleep.
you
But
do take naps in the afternoon, right?
mm-mm,
None?
nope, not yet. But maybe I should start. I'm
My
always afraid if I lay down that I'll wake up the next day, and then I'll miss something, that I'm supposed to have done. So I
well,
just
yeah,
I
I
just
don't
go
want you to
do
do
some
that with
laundry or something.
or yeah, Shadow, I love this Demi Gorgon mini. This is a great miniature. Um, I was wondering if you did naps because like I had a nap today. I probably napped too much. I napped over an hour, and I usually will do that the day of a stream. Today I got off work early for some odd reason. We couldn't get the truck unloaded, and that's a problem with our people. Our not me. I'm ready to drive the truck to a dump, but the truck is full, and the dump is saying I don't have any way to put your stuff on the deck, so we have to hold this stuff in the tank for a day. And here I am worried that, well, when I get the truck moving tomorrow, it's going to be kind of difficult because I'm going to have to like squirt some water in there, water it down, then go drive on the highway, jostle it around, move it, then I'll have to pressure it, and then I can maybe fire it out the back end. And I'm just kind of worried. My job is as you already know, it's a fun septic tank job, but it's when you don't have the ability to unload what you did, you start getting worried. Like, please don't turn into a solid ball of grease.
Mhm.
Please, please don't do that to me.
Well,
But with you, I know you've got some good things going on there, and I didn't realize you had chickens again. I thought you had lost them about
well,
two
I
months.
did. I tried to raise 2 little batches of chicks, and they all got eaten and killed, by raccoons, that mom and her 5 babies. And, so I decided I wasn't gonna get any baby chicks, that I'd just get pullets. And pullets are older, like teenagers that are already big, big enough to where you can integrate them with the rest of your flock, right? So I
Okay.
went ahead and I was able to get 5 hens, well, pullets, and I put them in. I had to lock them in the coop with the rooster for 3 or 4 days to kind of get them to know each other and set up a pecking order and everything. And I had just had to go out and check them every day to make sure they had food and water, and they weren't attacking one chicken too much or whatever. And so I've posted a couple of videos on Twitter about them finally walking out in the yard and stuff together as a group. So I still have 2 chickens that are staying in the coop most of the time, because every time they come out, the rooster chases them around, because he's got to get them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But once he gets them a few times, they'll start, staying with the other girls and stuff more. But until he can get around, because now he has like what, 8 hens. So that's a lot of hens to keep corralled up. But once they're
Imagine that,
integrated,
man.
but once they're integrated like that, he will put them in the coop at night. He'll chase them and make them go in there. So when the sun's starting to go down, so I don't have to run around trying to find them and get them out of a tree or whatever. So that's a good thing about having a rooster when you're free ranging them. And plus, he tries to warn them if there's a predator by making certain noises, and they'll run and hide, or he'll fight with them, depending on what they're doing.
That I could see.
But
Uh, my friend Gregory, he has a absolute hatred for chickens. He had chickens on his grandparents' farm when he was a young kid, and he got
yeah,
traumatized by them. So if you ever are in a stream with us next Saturday or this coming Saturday, and Gregory's there, just ask him like, "Hey, Greg, what do you think of chickens?" And just let him let him vomit his hatred out. Let him get
Yeah,
his punch.
I know a few people who don't like chickens due to something that happened to them.
Yeah,
My daughter, she's afraid of birds. I mean, because she was dive bombed by a mama bird apparently when she got too close to the nests, and ever since then she's had a fear of birds that gonna try to peck her eyes out or whatever. So you know, some people have fear of them, just like some people don't like snakes and other people don't like spiders. So it just depends on what you're exposed to. But
I got attacked by a magpie in Joplin, Missouri.
mhm.
I was leaving the corporate building of Prime Trucking, not Amazon Prime, Prime Trucking, the people that can't drive or the shit. They have a
Yeah.
trucking school that regularly wreck trucks. And I was working there, and I'm leaving the headquarters building, and as I'm getting to my truck, I get attacked by a magpie or some bird that's like a magpie, and I tried cowering at first, and then I realized if I walked backwards with my eyes on the bird, it wouldn't screw with me. And
Mhm.
so I pulled my knife out because I had a pocket knife at the time, and he didn't make any more, dive bomb attacks. But whenever you had your back turned to him, like if you went anywhere near that tree, he was coming for you.
Well, it's
And
probably because they had a nest in there and they didn't want you anywhere near it.
I don't doubt that. It's just that I don't like being attacked by birds, and birds are food. Not like eating them raw, but we could figure things out. We're truckers. There's a truck stop down the road that's got grills for sale.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of cities and stuff that I think that are now uh, cooking pigeons.
yes,
So, I wonder how much what if they taste like quail or not, because their size isn't that much different.
nope, size isn't that much different. They do have a little bit more of a wild taste, from what I can tell. I've had pigeons a
Mhm.
couple times here in San Antonio. There's a few ethnic restaurants that will happily trap and butcher the birds. They
Yeah.
they they that's like the cheapest meat they can get a hold of, and then they get like a giant pile of bird seed and they just kind of leave it on the roof, and here come the pigeons. Then here go
Oh,
the
yeah.
guys out there with they fling their nets, and they injure the birds. The birds can't fly. It's great.
The thing is, though, if you can just think how many people you could feed with all the pigeons there are, like in New York City and stuff. That's a lot of. I love quail. I think quail was delicious. I just absolutely love it.
I think the main thing is that the disease. You have to try to cook the disease out of it if they've got a problem. You have to get them to a
Yeah.
certain temperature.
Well,
But
I'm sure that if you were to start farming them, there's some kind of swabs or whatever you could test them,
mhm.
find out
and
if they have certain diseases. And if they're sick, you just throw them in the incinerator or whatever, and if they're not, you can cook them up.
the thing that I've noticed with a lot of people here is that they cook squaw, which is the baby pigeons.
Yeah.
Cooking chicks,
Hmm.
which is delicious.
Yeah, I saw a video the other day and it was very disturbing. But I posted a video on Twitter and it was of some kind of bird. It looked like a duck when it was like just floating on the water, like it had died or something. And someone splashed water on it. When they did, the wings started flapping, and its head was still down. You couldn't get the head up. So the guy waded in a little bit and grabbed it and pulled it out. It had a ginormous bullfrog and had grabbed the head of the duck and had his mouth on it like that and was just holding on to it, wasn't gonna let go for nothing. And he took the bullfrog off of him. But then during that, it went to another bullfrog video and it showed this ginormous, some of them from Africa are like ginormous. I mean, really, really big. And it was sitting there and they got a baby chick out of a box and set it in front of it. And I said, I ain't watching this. So I turned it off. But yeah, there's some gruesome stuff where they show the bullfrogs eating mice and all kinds of stuff. But mice is not so bad. 'Cause, mice are normally in the wild, but a baby chick, I didn't want to watch it. I don't
I
know too many.
I was a very bored child growing up in Illinois when I was a young man, not even a
Mhm.
man. not even a man. And I would go outside and I would grab grasshoppers, and I learned that if you took the back legs off a grasshopper, it wouldn't damage the spider web too much. And I learned that the spiders were really beneficial. So uh, I would initially started with the grasshoppers, but then I found out that if I found the big black carpenter ants, I could give them the same thing they needed, and I had a whole nest. I could just ruin one side of the tree stump or whatever and get like 50 or 60 ants to feed a spider for like a
Yeah.
week, and
Hmm.
or a group of spiders. And then the next year that entire side of the yard was nothing but freaking black and yellow banana spiders with the giant orb webs. And
Yeah.
I was such a happy spider caretaker. And my dad asked me, do you want me to like build you a spot in the shed where you could have your spiders, and we could get some aquariums for them? I said no, because they wouldn't survive as well out here they
Yeah.
have insects would fly in, and they get the occasional, small morsel. If we were putting them in the shed, they wouldn't have that, and I would be forced to feed them this stuff every day. And
Yeah.
instead, we need to be able to give them. I like bugs. I know that
Yeah.
sounds
Have
very.
you ever seen a baby spiders leaving how they get away from the mom spider when they come out of the eggs or they
Yes,
hatch out?
I've seen
That's
that
really
times.
cool. A lot of people have no idea um, the concept of seeing that when it's actually happening, when the little webs come out of their butt and they fly off
Yeah.
with the current. And
Yes.
that's how they just get wherever the wind takes them, and they're going to be their new home.
And
Very interesting.
I like that. The other thing, because I was such a bored person. Hey, Tommy, how you doing, sir? The other thing I did when I was a young kid, I found out that I was allergic to wasp stings, and so whenever I'd see these giant green caterpillars with the big wasp eggs that are lodged,
Yeah,
I would go grab that caterpillar and I'd go give it to an ant mound, and then I'd just watch the ants just pick apart the caterpillar.
yeah,
Because I mean, this was my outdoor activity. I liked feeding the animals. That was what I did. I had a dog. He was relatively like easy to train, easy to take care of. But after 30 minutes, the dog was like, "Okay, I'm going to lay over here because I just had some really good food." And I thought he had really good food. He just hated his food later. I found out we had to spice it with brewer's yeast.
yeah,
But he was a dog that he lived like 12 years, and as I got older, he was a less active dog. Well, so up until the point where I started discovering, girls, I was in the backyard for 2, 3, 4 hours till sundown, and I was playing with the animals or learning about insects. And that kind of helped me whenever I got a job at Terminex, because now I had a job that would pay me to experiment with things. And I had a guy named Jim Billingsley who worked for Terminex. He was an ex Air Force pest control guy. If anybody here wants to get into pest control, the trainer you want should be Air Force trained. And a lot of times people say, oh, they give crap to the Air Force. I'm just going to tell you that the Air Force training for pest control people is equivalent to like 5 years in college. Because Jim, you give him a couple beers, and then you would be set for the next maybe 6 hours. It was wonderful. Tommy's like, Janet, I am digging the street makeup.
Oh, thank you. It's well, let me see if I can find the other one again. I had this other one on, but um it's slowing down my computer.
It's
You know,
actually just not optimized.
whatever that means. All I
It's
know
your
is
computer's a rocket ship, okay?
yeah,
Your computer's super fast, and it would be if we compared numbers to numbers for output, your computer would run circles around mine. But you're using that right there, which is not optimized, and therefore it's going to slow down pretty much that program in and of itself. But it's not going to slow down the majority of any other system that you run.
well, I just like this one. But see, my mouth doesn't move fast enough.
I saw that when we started, but I didn't really worry about it. I think every guy loves a succubus.
Yeah, I know. But I love this. I think it's really cool to have the wings and everything for vampire wings.
All right. So next week we're going to be doing the movie The Thing by John Carpenter in 1982, not the 2011 prequel, which I would not recommend to people to watch unless they felt they had to complete the cycle. Which, if so, watch that movie from 2011, then watch the 1982 version of The Thing, because that's how it's actually supposed to go. Are you familiar with that one, Janet, or no?
What was the name of it again?
It's The Thing from 2011.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to have any problem watching it.
The 2011 Thing is the prequel to the 1982 version, because the 2011 movie takes place at Norway base. In all seriousness, it's supposed to take place there, but it has a real problem with the CGI. And the CGI special effects are fine for a video game, but not for a movie. And that's why the 1982 version holds up so much better.
Yeah, I just love Kurt Russell in this movie.
You're not gonna lose any friends with that. I mean, simple adoration or admiration for Kurt Russell is a welcome thing in my
He
household.
just did a very, very good job at this particular character. And everyone in the movie, I thought they did phenomenal picking the actors and everything. So
Yeah.
that's why I can't wait to break it all down in little bite-sized pieces. It's gonna be cool.
I will actually have written notes, because I've loved The Thing for many years, decades, and I know other channels have covered it lately. Directorial Lifeform had Snowdub on it the other night, and they had a good.
Oh, really? They did it?
Yep, they did it. I know some other channels have done it too, so I'm trying to not go over there and listen to those streams about it.
Well, do you not want to do that one? Then we can choose something else.
Hold on. I want to talk about The Thing with you.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I was just saying, we don't have to watch it. We can pick something else. If you think other people have already done it, to death or whatever.
You can never have too much 1982 The Thing. Ever.
I just think it's a very good Halloween type movie. I'm not just like I said, I'm not into really too many slasher films. I'm just Friday the 13th was like the slashiest I'd get when it comes to that type of stuff. Or even Terror Train, I thought was really, really good.
I've not seen that one yet. I need to.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll have to do that one day. That's a good one. But The Thing is very scary. A good sci-fi scary movie.
Yeah.
It's got everything I need.
Yeah, I don't know. The 1982 version of The Thing does so many good things. I want to talk about that movie. So, everyone, let me get this. There you go here. All right. I have the Trump as Aragorn shirt on.
Oh, awesome.
I ran into an old lady at my job today, and she made a complaint. So human resources people said I needed to shave my beard and mustache. So,
is that why you shaved it off? Because I was going to ask you, because I was going to say you look like one of those Three Musketeer beards is what it was looking like to me before you shaved it off.
That's not an insult. I'll take it. I love having the.
It had that point,
Yes, the soul patch. I love getting that. I like having that big, nice, long, manly mustache, and I like that. But we had a problem with a lady at work today, so I had to shave it off, and it'll be like I'll be growing it back slowly starting in December. We'll just let this blow over for a while. I upset the boss's aunt, and she's like 92, so I don't think I have to deal with her that much longer.
You mean you're not supposed to have facial hair at work?
No, not with my job. And I can understand why, because you have things that splatter.
Well, just wear a face cover. Like whatever those that
A
little
respirator. I
shield. Yeah,
usually
no, the shield that goes down over your forehead.
I usually will
Clear.
wear a face shield or I will wear a respirator if I need to, but most of the time I don't wear anything but my eye protection because I love my eyes and the ability to see when I'm driving. It's
Mhm.
just basic
Well,
things.
and you said you were a plumber, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, all I know is I would want to wear a face shield in case something wants to splash up and try to go in my mouth. That would bother me worse than anything. So, a face shield, like dentists and stuff wear, would be perfect.
I typically have a face shield available. Whenever you're working with septic, you will have your
Mhm.
mouth open once
Yeah.
and once only.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'd be throwing up for days if that ever happened to me.
I had a svelte figure for a week,
Yeah,
right?
I can understand. That would be gruesome. Real life horror.
Yeah. Everybody, we will be doing episode 30 of Six Nations.
30? We're gonna be 30 movies in next
Yeah,
week? That
well,
is
actually, like
amazing. It doesn't seem like
29.
it, does it?
No, it
It does
doesn't.
not seem like we've done that many movies to me. It
No,
does not. That's amazing.
yeah, it does. And Six Nations, the rankings, like this is going to go south real quick. Like, yeah, it could. Tommy's like, they shall never convince me to cut off my fur. Never. It wasn't convincing. It was, I need you to be complicit with this just for a while. You can grow your goatee and mustache back later, you furry bastard, and I will.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and besides, right now it looks like I am about 2 years younger. So if I could
Yeah,
just
you
drop
do
this,
I was gonna say you got a baby face now.
yeah.
It's where you just wanna go, I'm gonna grab those cheeks.
All right, everybody, had a great time. We'll do episode 30 next week for The Thing on Halloween night. I hope to see
Yay,
all of you here. Bring
spooky.
your friends.
Mhm.
Janet, you want to escort us out?
Oh, how? See you guys next week for Halloween. If you want, you can dress up. Send us some pictures on Discord or Twitter, and we can share them on screen if you want. That'd be fun. It's going to be a great night. Hope to see you.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for showing up tonight, guys. I'll see you then.
Okay, bye-bye.